Hello and welcome to our Campus Engagement Day. I'm Jennifer Frick and I'm a career consultant at the Career and Professional Development Center. Today's session is going to feature speakers from programs at the university that prepare students for business careers. Each speaker will present a little about their department or program, and then we'll turn it over to our employer attendees for Q&A. For the presentation portion, please keep your microphones muted. And please save your questions for the Q&A. My colleague, Matthew Seeley, Matthew, give us a little wave, will be monitoring the chat to keep an eye on our questions for today. I'm really excited to introduce today's speakers, both from the Tepper School of Business. You've got Team Tepper on the call here today. We have Dr. Jennifer Wegner from the Undergraduate Business Program. We also have Steve Rockus from the Master's Career Center. So I will turn it over to Jen if you want to do a quick intro and then start us off with your presentation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jen. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are located. As Jen introduced, I'm Jennifer Wegner. I use she, her pronouns, and I provide leadership to the undergraduate business academic program. And I'll share a bit more about our program as well as our undergraduate economics program. Both programs celebrated graduation just 2 days ago, and many of our graduates are headed to industry. So we're happy that always to have an opportunity to engage with recruiters and to share more about our programs. I'll also share I am working remotely today. I live downtown Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful day. My windows are open, so my fingers are crossed that the streets are quiet as I offer my presentation. And as I see BNY Mellon and UPMC, I can see you all out my window from downtown Pittsburgh this afternoon. Let me begin by sharing a bit of information with you about our program. The undergraduate business program has just under 700 undergraduates. If you've been engaged with Carnegie Mellon for any length of time, this is a much higher number than we've had for many years. We've taken a very deliberate growth perspective in the last couple of years. And again, we're nearing 700 primary majors. For the business program, we are a direct admit program. So we will actually begin working with the class of 2026. I have to practice saying that out loud because it feels a little strange to think about our incoming students as class of 2026 grads, but they are arriving onto campus in August. And we'll start working with those students starting in June after they complete their secondary school program. And one of the things that's important to us working with business students is that we start talking about career development in their first year. It's actually probably a bit of a tired joke that I offer to our families and to our incoming students, but we start talking with them about their departure from Tepper as soon as they arrive in Tepper, because we really understand that career development is a multi-year experience for our undergraduates. And we're lucky to have good colleagues in Jennifer and Matthew in our Career Center to really support our students from day one until they graduate and beyond. In economics, we offer a couple of different degree options. Now, explain them because you may see them as you're working with our economics students. We offer both a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science in economics. And we have 3 interdisciplinary economics programs that we also offer to our undergraduate populations: economics and statistics, economics and mathematics, and economics in politics. Overall, our economics program is a bit smaller than our business population, with about 140 primary majors across the 4 majors that economics students are able to choose from. And unlike the Tepper business students, economics students come into Carnegie Mellon undeclared, and they declare their program of study after at least their first semester. Sometimes it takes them a little longer than one semester to make that decision about their primary major, but by sophomore year, most Carnegie Mellon students have decided their major, and that's certainly true for our economics students. So the Tepper School really starts working with economics students in their sophomore year through their completion of their undergraduate career. A little bit about our curriculum and what distinguishes the Tepper business students from our peers across the country and across the world. We are proud of our roots in the Tepper School and really focus our foundational coursework in mathematics, in economics, and statistics. So our students are taking multiple classes in econ, math, and stats in their first and second year. We also know that undergraduates are eager to get into the business curriculum. They were intentional about applying as a direct admit to the Tepper School. And so starting in their first semester of their first year, they're starting to take business coursework. That includes an introductory business course taught by Brian Rutledge that is titled Business Science, that not only introduces students a little bit to, frankly, what is college and how to be a college student in the Tepper School, but the introduction of management science and framing how the Tepper School prepares students to be business leaders. Our students, of course, take core coursework in accounting, marketing, finance, organizational behavior, operations, optimization, and communications. And they also have the opportunity to dive deep into one of those areas by selecting a concentration. A concentration is required for our students, and that begins to give them some of the depth that will help them prepare for their career. We've never done this study, but for the most part, we see that students elect a concentration that aligns with their career interests. It's not always one-to-one, but for the most part, it is truly an indication of the area of business that they're most interested in studying in depth. Our undergraduate curriculum also includes business electives, as well as a leadership course. And unlike other courses in leadership that you may see at some of our peer institutions, our leadership class is actually a course that is taken 3 different times in their first year, sophomore year, and junior year. Knowing what we know about how college students develop, we want to provide them leadership in context and really responsive to their cognitive development as students and as future business professionals. And so really phasing out that development of leadership has proved successful for our students. And our students also finish with a capstone course. One of the other elements that we're proud of and distinguishes us as a business schools for many, many years now, we require our business students to complete a minor outside of the Tepper School as part of their degree requirements. Some students elect to make that an additional major, but that minor gives students an opportunity to take advantage of the excellent academics across Carnegie Mellon. We see a lot of students pursue minors in statistics, in decision science, and that's been an emerging trend that we've seen in our data in the last couple of years, is that statistics, data science, decision science are really becoming the areas that our students are choosing to partner with their business degree. Certainly, we still have students who choose computer science as a minor, or a language, or something from our College of Fine Arts or our Mellon College of Science. But we're really seeing social sciences become a very important pairing for our business students. Our economics curriculum looks a little bit more like you might see in a liberal arts and sciences. They have a core in mathematics, in quantitative analysis, as well as in advanced economic theory and advanced economic electives. And our students also choose either a senior project capstone or a thesis. We know that economics students, some of decide that they want to go more the research or academia route, and so that thesis is an important option for them. And our economics students who are looking more to enter into industry, at least in their early career, more often elect the project capstone. While the economics degree is a little bit different than the business administration degree in that they don't require a minor or additional major as part of their degree requirements, we still see lots of undergraduate economics students elect to add to their academic credentials with a minor or an additional major. And before I move on to the next slide, I'll also share as you meet students outside of the Tepper School, not studying business or not studying economics, that we do have a business minor on campus, and it is one of the most popular minors on campus. So we have over 250 students who are pursuing either a business minor, a business analytics minor, a supply chain minor, or an entrepreneurship minor, all of which come through the Tepper School and are administered through that. So what we are seeing, and I share that with you, is what we're seeing are students from across campus wanting some depth of knowledge in business, and we're proud of that as we move forward. I'll quickly share with you the industries that our economics graduates are entering: finance, consulting, government, manufacturing, and retail. And you'll see a list of graduate schools that our class of 21 graduates pursued their higher education paths. We're still collecting data. Actually, when I say we, it's actually Jennifer and Matthew, giving them full credit. We're still collecting data on our class of 2022, but I know of at least one economics graduate who is headed to Boston to study at Harvard next fall. So we're very proud of where our economics students go. And as we look at business, you'll see there's some similarities. Again, finance, consulting, and technology are the top industries for our business undergraduate alums. And we identified the top 5 employers: Deloitte, Citibank, PNC, MUFG, and PwC, that our students are selecting. But as our classes are growing, we're seeing those employers diversify even further, as some students are choosing smaller companies, boutique firms for their early career paths. And I will add to the chat some PDFs that our colleagues in the Career Professional Development Center that Matthew created to give you additional information about some of the statistics for where our business students and where our economic students are going in their early career steps after graduation. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Steve from the Tepper School, and I'm also going to find my charger as he begins his presentation.
Thank you, Jen. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I will get my slides up. And while I do that, I will introduce myself. As Jen mentioned at the beginning, I'm Steve Rockus, the Executive Director of the Master's Career Center at the Tepper School. And my group and I work with our MBA students, as well as our Masters of Business Analytics and our Masters in Product Management students. Give me just a moment here. Okay, perfect. Does this look good, Jen?
It is good. We can see your notes page though.
Oh, okay. Let me get rid of that.
Yeah, if you go up to display settings at the top, you should be able to get rid of it.
1 second here. Bear with me for just a moment.
While Steve does that, I just want to do a quick hello to our old friend Jimmy Fabrizio, who's on the call today, who used to be part of our CPDC team and is now one of our recruiters at Deloitte. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Jen. Hey, everybody.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, it's fine. I was very excited in the intro call to see Andrew on the call. I know him well, and it's nice to see that picture of him at graduation.
Okay, we in good shape now, Jen?
Yeah, I think we're fine. Thanks.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome all of you. I hope you're enjoying the event today. We're always pleased to have recruiters on campus, and I'm particularly pleased to be talking about our MBA program. So let me advance to my next slide. I've been having some technical trouble today, so just bear with me while I get my bearings. Okay, perfect. So in our MBA program at the Tepper School, as I was listening to Jen, I heard a lot of commonalities as far as the philosophy of teaching, philosophy of the curriculum, the education. So you'll hear some things that Jen had already explained very well, and I will mention as well in context of the MBA program. But so we're here to talk about the Tepper MBA. We like to consider ourselves as preparing our students for what we call the intelligent future. The future is defined by vast quantities of data, as all of you know, right? So we are training students to harness that data to make sound business decisions. And we call that the combination of the science of management and the art of leadership. As you can see here, Tepper is a founder of management science and analytical decision-making in business. We were there on the forefront of that. Folks like to say the first computer at Carnegie Mellon was actually in the business school back in the 50s. So that just gives you a sense of our grounding in analytics. We're transforming data to solve problems and helping companies manage all this data that they suddenly have that they haven't had before. We're also offering our students a strong foundational knowledge in business and comfort with technology and ambiguity. So the science of management combined with the art of leadership. We believe leadership is largely a teachable science. We help our students on a leadership development journey while they're with the Tepper School for their MBA program. In addition to career coaches on my team, we have our Accelerate Leadership Center, where we have leadership coaches who have both a curricular component and a non-curricular component to work with students on an individual path to help them develop their leadership skills. So it all begins with our core in the MBA program. And in the full-time program, the core is basically year one. In the part-time program, it's about 1.5 years of the 3-year program. But before students begin to take a lot of electives and pursue those special interests, they get this solid grounding in analytics, business fundamentals, leadership, and communication across the board. Whether you're in our part-time or full-time program, the curriculum is the same. Once that's completed, they have a broad set of electives that they can choose from across all the different areas that you see here. And on the right side, they can elect to complete a track, or they can pursue a dual degree across Carnegie Mellon, in addition to our JD MBA partnership with the University of Pittsburgh. Cross-disciplinary learning is a hallmark of Carnegie Mellon. Jen described how our undergraduate students can do a business minor from other areas as well. And we have a similar philosophy where we encourage our MBA students to take courses outside of the business school. And some of the more common choices are listed on that slide. I just want to reiterate, as I mentioned earlier, it's the same MBA curriculum across 3 formats. Our full-time program is a 2-year program with a summer internship in the summer between year 1 and 2. The part-time online hybrid program is completely remote. Most of those folks do not live in the Pittsburgh region, for example. And our part-time program based in Pittsburgh is also pretty much remote these days as well. But we have those 3 formats. Keep in mind, in particular, if you come across a part-time MBA student, they're pretty impressive folks. They're completing in 3 years the same curriculum our students are full-time are doing in 2 years, while holding down a full-time job, often with a family, other obligations. So it's a really rigorous program, and they leave with the same degree, supported by the same career services team, the same leadership development team, and all those resources available. There's some flexibility across our program, which is uncommon as well for most top tier programs, where students can begin in the part-time program, transfer to the full-time program. Perhaps they decide they want to do a summer internship based on their career goals, or vice versa. We've had a few students enjoy their summer internship so much they end up staying at the company and not coming back full-time to the program and end up finishing their MBA part-time. So there's a lot of flexibility built within. Experiential learning is important in our MBA program. Every summer, at least almost 100% of our students complete an internship. Capstone projects are key in the second year, a key learning experience to partner with a company. A few of the folks here today have partnered with the Tepper School in the past, I noticed as we were coming into the room. So those capstone projects really allow students, as it says here, to tackle complex problems and make an impact across areas of interest. So to speak about career outcomes for a moment with our MBAs, the top two industries for at least about the last 15 years have gone back and forth between consulting and technology. So that accounts for about 2/3 of our graduating MBA class, which by the way is about 200 in a class. Our part-time program graduates about 80 students a year. But within that full-time group, this is the breakdown by industry. So about 2/3 consulting or tech, followed by a pretty consistent footprint within financial services, biopharma, healthcare, and other areas you can see there. There are some areas that are emerging for us, particularly on the energy side, within other areas like, we have a few students who are interested in areas like media and entertainment, or so on and so forth. If you don't see your industry represented in the big circles, don't despair. There are still plenty of opportunities to engage with our students and make a convincing case, and we'll talk about how to do that in a few minutes. So then looking at function by employment, with a large group of our students going into consulting or internal strategy roles at corporations, we see last year, I think that was a record-setting number for us. 37% of our students were employed in a consulting function, whether it was at the consulting firm or, again, within an internal group, within a company. Marketing and finance tend to dominate and compete each year. And then when you see the general management bucket, that often includes leadership development programs that might be aligned with marketing, finance, or operations, but they're a rotational development program. We have to account for those separately. You might be surprised to see technology at 1% at Carnegie Mellon at the Tepper School. Keep in mind, that's purely an IT role. We don't count product management, for example, within technology as a function. We count that as a marketing function or a product development function. And then geographically, quickly, Northeast, West Coast tend to battle it out each year for roughly about 2/3 of our students, and the Mid-Atlantic region where we are now, no surprise. And that gives you an idea. About 98% of the class last year accepted a role in the US, and considering that class was about 35% international, that speaks to the caliber of our international students and their persistence and passion for pursuing a job in the US after graduation. Most of our class does that, as you can see here. And then to speak a bit about outcomes for our MBA students, last year was a really strong year for employment for the Tepper School. We saw 96% of the graduating class was employed by 3 months after graduation. See median base salary information there. Everyone who wanted an internship found one last year. And if you're really curious, you can dig in and look at 5 years worth of salary data broken down in pretty good detail on our website. And I'm also happy to answer any questions that anybody would have about that. So then kind of bringing it back to, so what, not what, that takes us to how do you potentially recruit and hire our students? I know some of you already are engaged with us at the Master's Career Center. And if you're not, we'll introduce how to do that. We have a good, strong partnership with the CPDC, but we do exist as a separate career center for the MBA and for the Masters of Product Management and Masters of Business Analytics students within the Tepper building. And so to engage with our students, you can start with the more passive approach, which includes things like job postings, reviewing resume books. That can then lead to the potential to host on-site or virtual corporate events. We have not had on-site events for the past 2 years, but we're looking forward to what looks to be some sort of a hybrid setup in the fall, where we will be having some on-campus recruiting and events and some remote, depending on both our parameters and all of your parameters as well. But either way, we've all quickly adapted across campus to host things like office hours, coffee chats, career fairs, even treks virtually. So we're feeling we're pretty well prepared to deal with whatever comes down the pike in the coming year. And I see Jen and Matthew nodding. They feel the same way. Full-blown campus press for talent at Tepper could include on-campus interviews in the fall that's focused on full-time graduating MBAs. And then in the winter spring semester, we continue with full-time recruiting as needed, and then also begin to focus on summer internship recruiting. And again, we are ready to host virtual, on-site, hybrid, whatever it is that needs to happen. And that's just some contact information, which I know you can get elsewhere. But to discuss recruiting options, I have our Associate Director of Recruiting, Lynn Urso's information there, and I'm always happy to answer any other questions, and again, about any of the 3 programs we work with. We're particularly excited to launch our full-time business analytics degree in the fall. So we're looking forward to engaging with recruiters to meet those students who will be in a 1-year quick program toward a master's in business analytics from the Tepper School. Okay, I think that's all I had. So I'm going to stop sharing and would love to hear whatever questions you all have for us.
For Jen Wagner, we had one specific question for you. You referenced in your presentation the number of concentrations that students do, and there was a question about, is there a focus on product management among those offerings?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Christy. We currently do not yet have a product management concentration. However, next academic year, we will be introducing the first undergraduate product management course at Carnegie Mellon. And it is on our curriculum committee's agenda to develop out a product management concentration and course path for our students. That's probably going to take a year to kind of prepare fully, but we know that this is an interest not only among recruiters and employers, but our students are starting to look for this as well. And we think this is an interesting space for the Tepper School to grow and to learn from our colleagues at the graduate level, as there is a product management graduate degree that Tepper offers. And so we're excited to expand that into the undergraduate space. And just anecdotally, I've chatted with students about our new product management course, and they are ready for it. We'll be offering it in spring of 23. So we're excited to spring that work forward for our undergraduates.
I have a question that was directed to me. I think this was when you were speaking, Steve. When consulting is mentioned, what titles or types of firms are you seeing that have these positions?
Sure. So for consulting, historically, our largest recruiters by volume have been PwC and Deloitte. We also work with McKinsey, Bain, BCG. We work with EY. We work with, I'm afraid I'm going to forget or not mention someone who's in the audience. So odds are we work with your firm if I didn't mention it. But we do work with a lot of boutique firms as well. And as our students are MBA students, right, they're for the most part coming in at the associate level. If they have significantly more than average work experience, they might be able to negotiate a higher level than that, but it's typically associate recruiting at the MBA level. And again, most of the top strategy firms and a good number of the boutiques engage with us on some level for recruiting.
Thank you. We had another one in the chat too. I'll direct this to you, Steve, again. Could you talk about the differences or similarities between the MBA and the MPP degrees in terms of skills and knowledge areas?
Sure, I'll take a shot at it. By MPP, are we talking about the Master of Public Policy?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're on the same. Okay. We do have a dual degree. I'll start there with the Heinz College, where students would take an extra summer basically and graduate in August, where their peers are graduating in May, and have a dual degree between the Heinz College and the Tepper School. And that would be the crossover I'm most familiar with, to be honest. I think it depends on the student's interest, right? Most of our MBA students who also do the dual degree have some level of interest in either a future career in public administration or nonprofit management, but they want a grounding in a corporate career for a couple of years in order to make that move, you know, kind of effectively to be a leader in more of a public policy type area. I'm looking at the rest of the question there. Oh, and that's a different question. Okay, so I hope I've addressed your question as best I can. I would defer to my colleagues in the Heinz College because they know their curriculum for the MPP better than I do.
Thanks so much, Steve. Another question that could be interesting to hear from both you, Jen Wagner, and also you, Steve, as well. What learning or experience do students have around sales, contracting, or deal making? Any insights for that to give some of our employer audience a sense of that, the skill sets that are being developed?
Sure. Jen, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first? Oh, okay. We're seeing a growing interest in sales with our MBA students. I'll start there. I think even compared to a couple of years ago, many MBA students have a negative connotation for whatever reason about a sales role. And then they learn a little bit more about what it might entail, especially if it entails either business development or you know, some sort of strategic positioning of the company. Sales can mean a lot of things, right? When you're looking at sales, contracting, and deal making, we have some electives in that area that are taught, kind of ranging from deal making in the traditional sense, as well as you know, helping. There might be some crossover to entrepreneurship, right, and helping to solicit funding and getting backers for a business. So it really runs the gamut. But we do have a group of maybe 5 to 10 students a year who do pursue a sales role with a company like IBM or Microsoft or something like that, right? And then they do, again, have that option to take some electives around sales and business development and often entrepreneurship. Does that answer the question?
And I'll speak to it from the undergraduate space. This is not an area where we have much coursework in the Tepper School, just at the undergraduate level. That's not as common. I think where we do see students who are particularly interested in this, they find their way to the Short Center for Entrepreneurship. We do have many entrepreneurship classes that, while not necessarily titled sales as a course title, kind of include that in their content. And we have many students who take a couple of different entrepreneurship classes, even if they don't intend to go and become entrepreneurs. They want that mindset. And we talk a lot about the entrepreneurial mindset as an asset for business students to develop, particularly at the undergraduate level. And so they will take coursework in that space. And the Short Center as well not only offers traditional courses, but also has a variety of co-curricular experiences and place-based visits to Silicon Valley and our partners out there. So it's for undergraduates and graduate students, it can be both a curricular way to gain that knowledge as well as through co-curricular experiences with our colleagues in the Entrepreneurship Center.
Great, thanks. And resting on this theme of education and the academics, any course education or offerings specific to mortgage and real estate industry for either the MBA or undergraduate levels?
I'm not aware of any on the MBA level. Real estate in general is an area we don't have a huge footprint in, but I'm happy to look into that a little bit more and respond to iPhone if that's helpful. But I'm pretty sure we don't have a particular course that I'm aware of that focuses there.
I'll actually add to that. Some of the other meetings I sit in on is around course development. And I know that there is a real estate course that is coming I believe next year into the graduate program. And it's been proposed that that will be a graduate and undergraduate course in the Tepper School. Again, it hasn't run yet, but it is on the books for next year that Meredith will be teaching. Also in our College of Architecture, which sits in the College of Fine Arts, they do have undergraduate courses in real estate. I think 1 or 2. And again, our Tepper business population, that's not the most common pathway that students are electing, but we do have a couple of undergraduate courses from our colleagues in the architecture school if our students are interested in particularly real estate.
That's great to hear about that course, Jen. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yes.
And I'll just add, every year we probably run across 1 or 2 students who have that interest. They've either come from real estate or they have family connections somehow in real estate. So we do see it. We just don't see it's not a typical path at all. I see a shout out for the School of Architecture. That's great.
I'll throw a question out while we wait for some more from the audience. For recruiters who are interested in connecting with your student clubs and organizations, do you have any suggested best practices for those individuals?
So I will start by offering, we have a very active set of student organizations, and I know our graduate students are very active in the co-curricular space as well. For the undergraduate student clubs in the Tepper School, they do draw students from across campus. Our student clubs are not limited to business students, and so engaging with our student clubs will increase your exposure, not just to Tepper students, but across the business school and across the university. Many of our student clubs welcome and actively solicit engagement from employers. And in the last few months, we've been able to return to some on-campus programming if employers and recruiters are able to visit. And if not, our students are certainly adept at using technology to make those connections. One of the things that's important from an undergraduate perspective that sits in the offices that I lead, or we really let the students take that leadership role, and we don't kind of carve the pathways for them necessarily. We will support them. And certainly they work with Jennifer and Matthew in the Career Center as well. But we really encourage that relationship to be built with the employer and the student club, independent of our office. If something isn't going great, please do let us know. This is a learning moment for our students, of course, and we want it to be a positive experience for you as well. But, we encourage you to identify who are the students you're looking for, and then we can certainly make the connections to student clubs in the undergraduate space. I will also just add that our undergraduate student clubs are pretty quiet over the summer. There's not a lot of activity. And so they depart campus after final exams and truly step away, which is positive for our students to rest and focus on their summer plans. And it's really early to mid-August when they will start preparing for the start of the fall. So I want to note that if you're trying to reach out to them, they're undergoing leadership transitions and stepped away from campus. They're pretty quiet in the summer.
I would say it's very similar at the Tepper School to what Jen described. The clubs largely drive their own programming and curriculum. The career-related clubs do have a liaison within my team to sort of provide that, guiding hand or the historical perspective on events and partnering with companies. And if it comes to things like sponsoring club case competitions or wanting to donate prizes for things for clubs like that, then our corporate relations team gets involved and helps you steward a an agreement, and kind of think about what are the outcomes you want to achieve, and what's the value add for you to work with our clubs in a sponsorship way. And then I mentioned earlier too, we do partner quite a bit with our clubs on our treks to whether it's New York, Bay Area, major cities, or to pursue industries in areas like the entertainment industry on the West Coast or healthcare industry in the Northeast corridor, whatever it may be. And again, we've done that mostly virtual, all virtual for the past 2 years, hoping to see what the future holds for us in that regard. But we encourage you to reach out to our clubs. If you can reach out to them directly, or you can reach out to them through our office, whatever works best for you.
I'm going to hop in with a quick time check. We have 2 minutes left. I can't believe it. Matthew, do you want to do the last question and then we will wrap up?
Sure. So it's just, let's connect. So what opportunities can employers have for info sessions on campus or virtually? Steve, you want to handle that for the MBA level? And Jennifer Frick, do you want to handle it for the CPDC?
Yeah, sounds good. So if you want to target MBA students or our Masters of Science in Product Management or our Masters of Business Analytics students, you can contact Lynn Urso at our office. Her contact information was on the slide, or just reach out to me, or Jen, I'm sure would be happy, or Matt, to forward anything to us. You can schedule information sessions. We won't be doing anything like that over the summer. Our students are either coming on board to the program or interning somewhere this summer, but it's a busy time for us right now, booking events for fall and the winter term. And again, you can target internship seeking students, full-time seeking students, both, whatever works for you. And right now we are securing dates and then looking at what's going to be possible in person, hybrid, virtual a little bit later in the summer. But we would be glad to welcome you in one of those 3 formats. But let's reach out.
Thanks, Matthew, for throwing that back to me. But I will say that we actually did do a few on-campus presentations this spring. So once things got a little bit better in terms of the number of people we were allowed to have in classrooms, we did try to do some employer events. So right now we're planning to the best of our ability, as Steve mentioned, but we do anticipate having on-campus information sessions, virtual information sessions, and the same with interviews. And I'll do a very quick plug here in the last few seconds that we have for our Tepper Meetup event, which this year will be held on September 8th. That's an undergraduate event for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We are planning to have that in person this year, and it's a great opportunity for employers to host a table and schedule sessions with students. So those would be pre-scheduled sessions. And to go back to the earlier question in terms of the best way perhaps to do those things, we exclusively use Handshake. So in Handshake, you'd be able to request interviews, you'd be able to do a request for either a virtual or in-person info session. As Steve mentioned, and someone else did before, we're very quiet over the summer, but as students start coming back to campus, we anticipate it's going to be a busy fall semester. I want to do a quick wrap up. Thank you so much, Jen and Steve, for joining us today to share information about the various Tepper programs with our audience. I want to also thank all of our attendees for joining us today and for your interest in learning more about our programs and offices. And a big thanks to my next door neighbor, Matthew Seeley, and my colleague and dear friend for joining us today and helping today with the questions. But we are recording this. If anyone wants to come back to it, if they have questions, feel free to reach out to any one of us. We quite honestly trade emails about lots of things all the time. So if you accidentally email the wrong person, we're happy to shoot to the right one. But enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate your time. And again, thanks so much for your interest in our students.